So today I thought we would just do a simple mat class. All I'm going to bring is a ball for my foot and a mat. So we're going to start off just by taking a moment to arrive in the room, and that's one of the reasons I like to start with the ball as well as opening up the foot. It gives us a moment just to arrive in the space that we've chosen to give our body some time to work through some exercises, because often we try and cram them into a moment in the day and we're not really present when we're doing it. The reason I like to call what I do mindfulness through movement is because it's really important to be mindful and be present when you're moving to get the best out of your class. So we're just starting off, like I often start with the class, rolling the tissues through the sole of the foot, waking up all the different layers of tissue. There's a lot of sensory tissue through the feet like there is in the palms, because the feet and the hands are responsible for giving us a lot of feedback to the brain. And sometimes when we have our shoes on in the winter and lots of socks and warm things on to keep our feet warm, we're not actually paying them any attention. So this just gives us an opportunity to reconnect our brain with the soles of our feet. It also can help if we're putting the pressure on from the front of the foot to the back of the foot and then taking the pressure off as we go back through. You're helping with the venous return, the lymphatic return. We're waking up the foot system, which is very important for our whole circulatory health, whether it be lymphatic circulation, actual blood circulation, and also the fascia and the way it communicates through the whole body. So you're really waking up those feet, giving them that moment, that time as you arrive into your space, and give yourself permission to just give yourself some time to exercise or pay attention to your body. You're going to place that first foot down, and you're just going to, again, give yourself a moment to feel the change in that foot compared to the other foot. You will hopefully feel that foot feels more awake. You've got more awareness of that foot in space compared to the other one. Hopefully it will feel much more open onto the mat, and even like it's sort of more connected to the mat than the other foot, which might still feel like it's sat on top of the mat and not really paying attention to the floor and the surface underneath your foot. So what you should feel is that the foot you've woken up is now much more aware of its surroundings and its interaction with the surface below it. And then you're going to do exactly the same with the other foot. And it's giving your body the time and the space to recognize sensations. We live in a fast-paced world. Our bodies are often bringing in a lot more information than perhaps they did 20, 50 years ago, because we're often attached to phones and screens and things that are constantly giving our brains external information. We want to tune into our internal information, our internal systems, and the way our body interacts with the world around it. And this is one of the best ways to start, waking up these feet, which play a really important function all day, every day when we're moving around, and we very, very rarely give them the attention they deserve. My mat is rolling up underneath. I'll straighten it out in a minute. So once you've worked through that second sole of the foot and given it as much attention as you did to the first one, you're then going to remove your ball. I'm just going to pop it out of the way. And you're going to just stand with both feet on the floor about your fist width apart, so that they're sitting underneath. They're not pelvic width apart, they're hip socket width apart. So your hip sockets, your knees and your ankles are stacked on top of each other. And you're giving your brain a moment to feel the feet, feel the base of your big toe, the base of your little toe, and the center of your heel bone. Or if you prefer to have an inside and outside edge of your heel bone, have 4 points in your foot rather than a tripod, that's completely fine. Work with what feels best for you, grounding those feet to the floor. And then with a little bit of softness in the knees, we're just going to do a mermaid stretch. So we're going to imagine we've got a zip on the side of our leg, and we're zipping it all the way up to our armpit, tipping the body over, letting the free arm drop to the floor. Lift the top arm all the way to the sky. So this arm is reaching up, this arm is reaching down. Find a soft place for your neck in between and breathe into the space you've created on the open side. And then With an out breath, you're going to pull that arm towards your ear, getting a lovely lengthening on the side body, and then breathing in to come back out. Find the imaginary zipper on the side of your other knee. Zip it all the way up to your armpit, and then reach that hand to the sky. Let the other arm release fully, so no tension in the shoulder. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Find that soft space for your neck in between the arms. Reach the arms in opposite directions and breathe. Breathe into this side of the body. You're trying to open and create space in the side of the rib cage, in the side of the waist. And then on your next out breath, you're going to pull the arm towards your ear, getting a lovely side bend through the whole body. Breathe into that and then coming back out. We're going to go one more on each side. Zipper all the way up to the armpit, reach to the sky. Let the other arm fall to the floor. Find a space for your neck in the middle that feels comfortable and relaxed. Breathe into the lengthened side. As you exhale, pull the arm over, and we're going to breathe in again here to expand the fascias all the way down the side of the body. And then exhale to come out. Last one on this side, all the way to the armpit, reach to the sky, reach to the floor, find a soft space for your neck in between, breathing into that lengthened side of your body, and breathing out, pull the arm towards your ear, and then breathe in again to that lengthened side, and breathing out to come back out, and then circling your shoulders off. We're going to just become aware of the shoulder blades on the back of the rib cage and the 4 movements that they can do. So they can shrug up and they can release down. That's elevation and depression. So we're just going to breathe in and shrug them up. Breathe out and drop them down. Breathe in, shrug them up. Breathe out, drop them down. And again, breathe in, shrug them up. And breathe out and drop them down. Then we're going to float the arms up in front, and I'm going to stand sideways on for this. Stacking pelvis, knees, ankles, rib cage over pelvis, head and neck over rib cage and pelvis. So no collapsing forwards. I want you to keep your spine long and strong. You can have a little bit of a zip up through your lower tummy from your pelvic floor to your belly button. And we're going to reach the fingertips forwards and then squeeze the shoulder blades back behind. So as you reach your fingertips forwards, your shoulder blades are separating on your back, but they're not coming up to your ears. They're staying low. So separating and drawing them back together. As you separate them, that's protraction. As you pull them back, that's retraction. And you're just seeing if you can move your shoulder blades in isolation without the spine wanting to move with you. So you're keeping that lovely long, strong body, and we're protracting and retracting and protracting and retracting, trying to keep the rest of the body uninvolved. So the scapular thoracic muscles are working just on the shoulder blades and not trying to change the shape of our body. They're just moving the shoulder blades on the body. And then reach forwards and float the arms up. And I'll turn back to forwards and reach the arms down. Take the arms forwards and up and open and down. Forwards and up, open and down. Working through the shoulder girdle movements, just exploring them. If you can't go all the way up, go to where you feel comfortable. Open as far as you feel comfortable and then drop them down and sweep them through. Make the range good for your body, and see again if you can ground your feet. Find that little bit of energy coming from your pelvic floor up, zipping up the front line here. So your body stays still as your shoulders move on your body. And you can breathe in and up and out and down. It's quite nice, filling the lungs with air as you lift and letting the air drop out as you lower down. Because there will be a little bit of a pull on the rib cage when you're moving the shoulder girdles because of where the muscles attach. So you might as well benefit from that. As the arms lift up, you can expand the ribs. And as the arms drop down, you can let them come back down and in. And releasing down. We're going to do a little shoulder rotation exercise where we open the arms out. So you're rotating through the upper arm bone. So you're turning out those forearms. And when you do that, I don't want you to feel again like you're moving your upper back in order to accommodate that. I want you to keep that lovely energy up through the spine, keeping it nice and long and strong. And you're just doing what you need to do with the shoulders to get that rotation in those upper arm bones. And then we take that out and then reach, palms up, turning the palms all the way down and behind, turning the arms all the way up, folding back in, and just work through this sort of Cleopatra movement with your shoulders. It just is a really good little micro movement of the shoulder joint, so you're working the rotatory components of the shoulders, waking up our rotator cuffs, which coordinate the shoulder joint movements. So you're just having a go at seeing whether you can smoothly glide the arms through those rotational components without you shrugging the shoulder blades and moving the shoulder blades. We're just moving the arms in the sockets, not getting the whole body involved. One more. Lovely. And then we're going to come and stand in a wide stance with our feet slightly turned out so that the hips are open. And we're going to just allow ourselves to drop into that wide open squat and then push back out. Run the hands down the inner thighs, the first few, to make sure your knees are opening and your body is staying upright. So if I go from the side and I drop down, it's as if my back is staying against the wall. I'm not tipping forwards in order to get there. So if your hips don't allow you to stay upright, just go to where they do allow you to stay upright. As soon as you start tipping forwards to get that movement, you're not working into the right areas. So I want you just to let the legs widen and then push through the feet to come back out. Let the legs widen, push through the feet. Opening those hip joints. These thigh bones will be rotating in the sockets. Push away. Rotate those thighs and push away. We can add arms. And then what you want to make sure is you're breathing in as you drop and out as you come back up. In and out. As you take the arms up, the rib cage is widening as you breathe in, and as you push away, you can gather up your pelvic floor and lower tummy as you breathe out. Breathing in, expanding, breathing out, drawing up through your center. Breathing in, expanding, breathing out, drawing up through the center. 3 more. Last one. And releasing. We're going to do a few regular squats, as if these ones are really important as we get old. It's making sure we have that ability to sit into a chair and to push back out of a chair. So it's keeping those muscles in the legs able to do that. So you're trying to imagine you have a chair behind you and you're going to perch on the edge of the seat of that chair, and then you're going to push yourself back up. Again, breathe in as you lower and breathe out to push back up. We're just working with the chains of muscles through the body that we need to have nice, coordinated, smooth movement. As you breathe in and drop the seats down and reach your arms forwards, make sure your shoulders aren't hunching up to your ears and your neck is long. And then push through the feet to come back up. 2 more. We're now going to just pop down and we're going to stay down and we're going to lift alternate heels whilst we're in that squat position. It's a little bit of a balance challenge. Have a go. Breathing in, and then you're going to lift one heel, place it down, lift the other heel, place it down. So you're having to switch your stability leg. Keep your shoulder blades soft. Keep your back long and strong. Don't collapse forwards. Keep open chested. 1 more on each side. And then pushing back up. Lovely. Give your legs a bit of a shake. And then we're going to go to our lovely roll down, which is always a really nice way of coordinating the body from the top down. What I want you to imagine is you're standing against a wall and your bottom is against the wall, your shoulder blades are against the wall, and the back of the head is against the wall. So you're imagining that wall behind you. Take a deep breath, and then as you breathe out, you're going to drop your head away from the wall. And then you're going to peel your bones away from the wall one at a time, that spine, those vertebral bodies, bone by bone by bone. Keeping your bottom against the wall as long as you can. And then when you've used up all that curvature of your spine, you'll then send the sit bones up the wall, tipping forwards at the pelvis. At this point, bend your knees as much or as little as you need to feel comfortable with this movement. If you feel tightness in the backs of the legs, that's normal. But if it's very tight, soften your knees slightly to make it easier to lift your sit bones high. Breathing in here, and then you want to use an exhale to come up. And I want you to think about your sit bones in your mind's eye. And if you're not sure where they are, go and feel those bony bits they're pointing up the imaginary wall at the moment. You're going to pull those down to point back towards the floor with your hamstrings. Then you're going to lift through your pelvic floor and lower tummy to restack you up against your imaginary wall. Taking a breath at the top and going again. Breathing out, drop your head away from the imaginary wall, and then imagine you're peeling your upper back away bone by bone by bone, vertebra by vertebra, peeling away, keeping the rest of the body against the wall as long as possible until you're peeling the bone above and the bone above that. Keep working down through the spine. Then tip the pelvis forwards, allowing the knees to be where they feel most comfortable for you to tip the pelvis forwards. Make sure there's no tension in the back of your neck. Make sure there's no tension in your shoulder girdle. Let the shoulders go. And then when you're ready, think about those sit bones, and you're going to think about pulling the sit bones down to the floor towards your heels as you push the floor away with your feet. Lift through your pelvic floor and lower tummy as you restack the spine up against the imaginary wall, opening your shoulder blades. Opening your collarbones so your shoulder blades soften on the back of your body and grow tall through the crown of your head. Chin just gently tucked in so your face is vertical and your chin isn't poked forward. So you've got length through the back and the front of your neck. Big breath in here. We're going to do 2 more. In your own time, exhale, drop your head forwards, reaching through the crown of the head. Peel your spine away from the imaginary wall, bone by bone by bone. Working down through, releasing as you go, letting go of the muscles that hold you up against gravity. We're giving in to gravity with this movement and we're letting go. Breathing into the back of your body. As you breathe out, anchor those sit bones back down, standing into your feet. Then lifting through the pelvic floor and zipping up that front line as you restack against the imaginary wall, opening your collarbones, growing the crown of the head tall. Last one, breath in. Breath out, rolling the head forwards, rolling down through the spine, bone by bone by bone, all the way down to the lower back. Then let the pelvis tip forwards with you as the sit bones slide up the wall. Big breath in at the bottom, filling the back with air. Exhaling, anchoring those sit bones to the floor as you stand into the feet, stacking you back up once you're in upright. Coming back up, collarbones wide, shoulder blades melting, neck long, front, back and sides. And take a breath. And then we're going to go down onto the mat. We're going to do a few different things on the mat. We'll start in 4-point kneeling. So we're going to come down onto hands and knees. Make sure your hands are nice and wide on the mat, so you're not pinching in your shoulders. Make sure your hands are slightly forwards of your shoulders. If they're right underneath, it's quite a lot of pressure on your wrists. If you're slightly further forwards, it can help your shoulder blade alignment on the back. It can help you keep your breastbone lifted and your spine nice and long. I don't want to see tailbones tucked and rounded lower backs. I want you to have a nice reach of your sit bones to the wall behind you. I want you to have a reach of the crown of the head to the wall in front of you. And from here, we're just going to tuck the toes under. And we're going to take a breath, and as you breathe out, you're going to slide one leg back without changing the shape of your body. You're going to really lengthen through that knee. And then as you exhale, you're going to zip up pelvic floor and lower tummy. So you're tightening your muscles, but you're not collapsing or fixing your back. You're keeping your back long and strong. And as you exhale, zip up, and then you're going to reach that leg as if you were reaching it to a wall behind you, to push against the wall behind you. Breathing in to lower. Breathing out. Imagine you're pushing that foot into a wall behind you. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Now we're going to add a breathing in, push through your hands, round through your back, bring your knee to your forehead, and then try and re-find that straight line through the body, through the leg, into that nice strong position. Breathing in and rounding, and breathing out, finding that length and strength. Breathing in and breathing out. Keep your breastbone nice and lifted. Don't collapse through your shoulders. One more. Breathing in and breathing out. And bring the leg back in. Same on the other side. Slide the other leg back, keeping your spine long and strong. No collapsing anywhere. Chin into the throat so your neck is long and not dropping forwards, because as soon as your head drops forwards, your shoulder blades lose their contact and stability with the back of the rib cage. So keep it all nice and strong. Reach through that heel bone at the back. On an exhale, you're going to slide that leg up and imagine you're pushing it against an imaginary wall. Breathing in to lower. Breathing out to lift. Breathing in to lower. Breathing out to lift. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in, long through the body. Breathing out. Now we're going to round, breathing in. And then breathing out, find that length and strength. Open the chest, widen the collarbones, lengthen the neck. Breathing in and breathing out. And breathing in and breathing out. Find that body alignment. It's building up your proprioception within your body to know when you're in that long, strong position. Your shoulder blades are working strongly. Your core is switched on when you're in this lengthened position. Breathing in one more time. I think we might be doing one extra on this side, but I've lost count. And reaching away and bringing that leg in. Widen your knees and just sit back, folding through your hips, bringing your forehead to the floor. Have your arms long if you like the shoulder stretch. If that starts to become too much, just soften your elbows to the floor. And just breathe into the back of your body here. Feeling the expansion through the back, behind the rib cage, behind the waist. And then we're going to come forwards. We're going to do one more little shoulder girdle movement here. The pro and retraction we did in standing, we're going to just do here. So what we're going to do is we're going to, first of all, lift the breastbone away from the floor, so you're in protraction. And then you're going to allow the breastbone to drop towards the floor, but the elbows are not going to bend. So you're going to retract, so you should feel your shoulder blades sliding towards each other on your back. And then push away. And then let the shoulder blades slide together. So this is about building awareness of where your shoulder blades are on your back. Push away. Feel them sliding around the rib cage where they're strong and attached, and then let them slide back together. Can you keep them strong and attached, or do they feel very floaty? We're wanting to work those muscles, keeping the connection of that shoulder blade against the rib cage by making your muscles control the movement. So you're dropping the breastbone towards the floor, keeping the elbows straight. They can have a slight softness, but you're not wanting to, I don't want you to drop the breastbone to the floor like that. I want you to drop the breastbone to the floor with fixed arms. And again, you're not changing the shape of your spine, You're just allowing the shoulder blades to move on your back. Last one. Lovely. And sitting back. We're then going to come to lie on our backs, and we're going to do a few things on our backs. So popping onto your back, find yourself in a comfortable position. I'm going to shuffle up the mat because of the sun. So feet flat on the floor, pelvis nice and melted into the floor, shoulder blades upper back melted into the floor, arms down by your sides just for a moment while you find the floor in your body, allowing it to just settle in for a few breaths. Sometimes if people are carrying tension in their body, it can take a moment for their body to settle into the floor. So just allowing that. Then you're going to take your diamond shape hands, so index fingers and thumbs together. Place your index fingers pointing down towards your pubic bone, thumbs towards your belly button, and then the heels of the hands on your pelvic bones. And here we're just going to do some pelvic tilting to just again build up the picture of your pelvis position for your brain. So you're going to flatten your lower back down into the floor so your thumbs drop lower than your fingertips. So that's called, you're flattening your back, so you're flexing your lower back. And then we're going to roll back the weight back down the pelvis towards the tailbone, and that makes you arch your lower back into extension. And then you're going to roll back through that pelvis until you've got a flat back in the floor, in flexion. Posterior tilt of the pelvis. Then you're going to go back through, roll down through that sacral bone towards the tailbone as you arch into anterior pelvic tilt and lumbar spine extension. So you're rolling between those two positions. As you roll away, arching the back, you'll want you to breathe in, draw the air all the way down to the pelvic floor. And as you roll back down to flatten your lower back, exhale and think of zipping up through the pelvic floor and tightening this space between your hands, drawing it in towards the floor. Breathing in. You're drawing the air all the way down towards your pelvic floor. Lowering down to, rolling down to flatten the back, and exhale, pulling up through the pelvic floor and tightening the space between your pelvic bones. Breathing in, drawing the air all the way down towards your pelvic floor. Last one, breathing out, drawing the muscles in, tightening everything together, zipping it all up. And then breathing in and softening in neutral. We're now going to keep the spine in neutral. So when you're in neutral, your fingertips and your thumbs are about level. You have a little bit of a curve in your lower back, so you've got some space behind it. But you're neither collapsing into the floor or overly arching away. You're somewhere in the middle. You can let your hands lie down by your sides here. And we're going to do the same contraction that we just did with the exhale, but this time we're not flattening the back into the floor. So I want you to take a breath all the way down to your pelvic floor, and then as you start to exhale, I want you to gently zip up through your back passage. If you're a lady, you'll have a middle passage and then a front passage. If you're a man, you've just got a back and a front passage. And then carry on that sense of tightening the muscles. Your transversus is like a corset muscle that wraps your spine. So if you start to shorten and flatten your back during this, you're using your obliques and your rectus to overlay that transversus. I want you to keep your pelvis in neutral and just use your exhale to tighten up, trying to find your transversus muscle rather than your more superficial obliques and rectus abdominis. Breathing in and softening. Try and breathe all the way down through the waist to your pelvis. And then as you exhale, zipping up back passage, middle passage, front passage, and trying to get that sense of wrapping of that corset muscle around your waist. Breathing in. Softening everything, let it go. Breathing out, zipping up from the tailbone to the pubic bone, and then wrapping from the spine all the way around your waist, trying to see if you can find that sense of corset muscle pulling you in. Breathing in. Breathing out, find those muscles again. Wrap them, lift the pelvic floor, wrap your corset muscle. One more time, breathe in, soften everything. Exhale, zipping up. So though that basic coordination of those core muscles is really important before we then go into doing any other work like scissors and things like that with the Pilates repertoire, because we need that basic transversus muscle activation before we start adding leg load, because otherwise if we're just using our obliques and our rectus, we will tend to flex our spine and push your lower back into the floor for stability. We want to create stability by activating the transversus muscle, which stabilizes the lumbar spine, not by using the floor as a way of stabilizing. So you're keeping that little space in your lower back for maybe a strawberry to sit there, and when we start doing the leg lifts, you want to make sure you're not squashing that strawberry, because you're activating your transversus and not just layering over your obliques and your rectus. So arms down by your sides, taking a breath in. As you start to breathe out, you're thinking of priming that core, pelvic floor, wrapping your transversus, float one leg up into tabletop. Breathing in, softening. As you breathe out, again, pelvic floor, core, and lower the leg down. Breath in. Breathing out, activate your pelvic floor and core, float the other leg up. Breathing in to space. Breathing out, activate pelvic floor and core to lower back down. Taking a breath. Breathing out, activate pelvic floor, core, then lift. Breathing in, softening. Breathing out, activate pelvic floor and core. If you are unsure how you're doing, keep placing this leg down and then do the same sequence with the other leg. If you're okay, we're going to try lifting the second leg up. So you're going to breathe out, activate pelvic floor, core, float the second leg up to tabletop. We're going to breathe in here, softening. Breathe out, activate pelvic floor, core on the exhale. Breathing in, softening. Breathing out, activating pelvic floor, core. If this feels really hard and you feel like you're either having to squash your back into the floor, or if you feel your tummy and it's popping up, you need to go back to the first exercise and work there. If you feel you can keep that little space for the strawberry without squashing it, and you can keep your core muscles pulling in rather than popping up in this position, we can go on to scissors 2. So you're going to take a breath. Exhale, pelvic floor, core, tap the toe on the exhale, breathing in to come back up. Breathing out, prep your pelvic floor, core, tap the toe, then breathe in to come back up. Breathing out, prep pelvic floor, core, exhale to tap, breathe in to come back up. Exhale, prep, tap, breathe in. 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 Last one. Exhale, prep, tap, and breathe in. And then bring your knees into your chest. So either of those two levels are good to work at, but you're really making sure that you've got that transversus stability through your core in order to work without putting any strain on your lower back. We're just going to do some hip circles here. So pull the knees towards you without, your lower back will flatten a little bit, but without really collapsing your lower back. Separate the knees as far as they will go until you feel an inner thigh stretch. If you're lucky enough not to feel one, that's fine. Just go to where you've got the range and then slowly straighten your arms, trying to keep on that stretch. Bring the knees together. Pull the knees into your chest. Separate until you find some inner thigh tension, and then let the arms straighten, keeping that inner thigh stretch. Pull the knees back. And then we're just going to reverse that. So keep the arms straight and separate them with straight elbows until you get that inner thigh stretch. Then pull the knees towards your armpits, keeping that stretch on the inner thighs, and then slowly bring the knees together. Straighten the arms, separate. Find that stretch. Pull the knees towards your chest. Straighten the arms. One more time. Separate, find that inner thigh stretch. Pull them in and release one knee and then the other one. We're going to just do a little bit of shoulder bridging to wake up the glutes and the back line. Make sure your heels are towards your fingertips, towards your bottom, so that ideally your ankles are fairly close to being underneath your knees. For this, we start in neutral and then we wake up the pelvic floor and core by flattening the lower back, and then we start to open the hips, draw the sit bones towards the backs of the knees. So we're really trying to fire up the proximal hamstrings to pull you up, and then once you're up, you'll stand into your feet, and that's when the glutes want to fire, not your lower back. If your tummy and core are on, you will be able to stand into your glutes and not just push through the front of your body and work your back. So we're going to start down. Take a breath in to prepare, then exhale, pelvic floor, transversus, flattening the lower back. Then find the sit bones in your mind's eye and imagine them traveling towards the backs of the knees. Pubic bone is staying high on the pelvis. You should maybe feel some stretch in the fronts of the hips if you're allowing them to open properly. Standing here for a moment, then as you exhale, check in on your pelvic floor and core. Can you still activate them in this position? Can you find your tripods under the soles of your feet and stand into them? But don't push into your lower back, push into your pelvis. Feel like your pelvis is holding you up. Soft through the spine. The spine is just melting out of your pelvis. Your pelvis, so your glutes and your hamstrings are what are holding you up here. Just do a couple of breaths down into the back of your waist, back of the rib cage. And then when you use a next exhale, melt the spine back down into the floor, bone by bone by bone. All the way down through the lower back, trying to find the last lower back vertebra where the pelvis starts, and then roll through the pelvis. Breathe in at the bottom. Breathe out, roll through the pelvis, engaging pelvic floor and core. Find those sit bones in your mind's eye and travel them up towards your backs of your knees, connecting those proximal hamstrings. Once you're up into standing, find your tripods underneath the soles of your feet and stand into them. You should feel opening at the fronts of the hips. You should not feel any stress in your lower back. If you do, check in that your pubic bone is high and hasn't collapsed in between your legs. Find those glutes, stand into the feet. To check on the glutes, what we're going to do is we're going to imagine pushing the pubic bone an inch higher than it is now. So you're just going to stand into those feet and push and soften, push and soften, push and soften. There should be no discomfort in your lower back here. It should be work in hamstrings and glutes. That's where you should be feeling it. Push. Open hips. Push. Keep pushing. You can push on an exhale, breathe in on a softening. Push and breathe in. Exhale, breathe in. Exhale, breathe in. Standing, finding those feet, really get them underneath you. Feel like your feet are there to support you and wake up that posterior chain, hamstrings, glutes. And then rolling back down. And then you can just draw your knees into the chest to give them a little bit of a stretch through the back there. And then release them back down to the floor. We're going to come up onto the shoulders. And we are going to do an exercise where we're going to take the arms above our heads. But what you want to be mindful of is what's happening in your rib cage as you take your shoulders up. So I'm going to just demonstrate. Where my hand is, I want to take my arms up and my rib cage stay where it is. For some people, because of tightnesses through different muscles, as they take their arm up, their middle back will start to lift off the floor and their ribs will pop forwards and up to allow the shoulder range of movement. So it's really important that you pull your ribs back down into the floor and feel the whole of the back behind your middle back here. The bottom of the rib cage is on the mat when your arm is up and not peeling away from the floor, causing an arch in your back. So that's your watch point. So you're going to take a breath. Your pelvis is in neutral. You've got a tiny sort of blueberry or strawberry behind your back, and you're not going to change that shape of that lower back or let these rib cages lift as you take the arms away. Taking a breath. As you start to exhale, think of the rib cage dropping as you take the arms up, leading with your thumbs. And then breathe in to float the arms back up. Exhale, draw the ribs down towards the mat. So think of sinking down through your rib cage as the arms go above your head. Breathing in. Breathing out. If you feel comfortable with this, you can circle the arms back out. Breathing in. Breathing out as you take the arms away and softening the ribs down, and then breathing in to circle back. Breathing out to take the arms away, breathing in to circle back. Breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, and breathing out, and breathing in. If you want to make these exercises more challenging for your core, you can always add the double tabletop position. But if you do that, you want to really think about the thigh bones sinking down into the hip sockets, so you try to take away the tension from the fronts of the hips, and then you want to make sure that your core is really working between your pelvis and your rib cage before you start the work. So you would then exhale, really make sure your rib cage to pelvis connection is strong, breathing in, exhaling, breathing in, exhaling, breathing in. And to make it stronger still, you can exhale and breathe in, exhale and breathe in. So you're alternately stretching one leg away and then the other leg away. And what you want to be making sure of is that blueberry or strawberry you've got behind your back is not getting further away or being squashed by your back. So your back is not either arching or flattening when you do this movement. Your core is able to keep your spine strong and in neutral whilst you do these movements. And then releasing, placing one leg down and the other leg down. To finish off, we're just going to do a little bit of lateral line movement. We're going to come onto our sides and we're going to come up onto our elbow. The light is a bit tricky, I think, because there's light shining right on me. The really important thing here is that your shoulder joint is above your elbow and the shoulder is down away from your ear. So you don't want to collapse into your shoulder here. You want to push up and out of that shoulder, feeling really strong. Your palm is ideally down, but if you don't like that, you can make a fist and have the fist down. You have your lower legs across the mat, and then you're going to exhale and lift up your bottom hip. Inhale to lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale to lower. And what you're making sure is that this shoulder is not collapsing or moving around as you lift and lower the pelvis. It's staying absolutely strong and solid. And as you lift, you're thinking of pushing the knee, the bottom knee, into the floor, because you want the lift to come from your lateral hip muscles. So push the knee down. You will also feel your obliques from your rib cage to your pelvis. But I want you to really push the knee, bottom knee into the floor and breathing in. If you feel comfortable, you can breathe in and out. Breathe in and out, and breathe in and out, and breathe in and out. And then I'm just going to switch over onto the other side, getting out of the sunlight, so you can actually maybe see a little bit better the alignment if the sun isn't on it. So again, elbows directly under your shoulder, and there's no collapsing into that shoulder, you're pushing up and away. Your lower legs are across the mat from side to side. And we're going to find length through the body. So at no point do you want to be collapsing here. You want to be long and strong from the pelvis to the crown of the head. And then you're pushing through the bottom leg to lift you up and breathing in. To start with, if we do it with an exhale for effort, inhale. So often, if you find it hard, then you want to exhale during the strength part of the movement, inhale during the softening part. If that feels okay, you can switch your breathing around. So then if you're going to add the arm in, it's quite nice to do an inhale up. So you're inhaling as you're lengthening the ribs and exhaling to come down. But again, all of these, you're making sure you're pushing with the bottom knee into the floor to help with that lateral line activation. So you're feeling, not just pulling from the obliques in the waist, but some strength on the outside of the pelvis, that lower pelvis. And last one. And lovely, and coming down. To finish off, we'll just do a little bit of a cross-legged position. If you need to put a block or a cushion underneath your hips to make it more comfortable, do. But we're just going to see if we can just sit opening out the hips and knees and just growing tall with the pelvis. See if you can scoop the tissue away from your sit bones and really find them underneath your pelvis. If this is not a good position for you, you can come up onto a chair. And for those of you who are able to do this, we're going to place a hand on the floor and we're going to lift up out of one side of the waist, keeping both sit bones on the floor. Take that hand back down. Lift up out of the waist, keeping both sit bones on the floor. Just giving a bit of a lateral line stretch. And then we're going to come back. We're going to take one leg behind or out to the side and keep the other leg forward. So we're in a 90-90, 90-90 position, and we are going to tip forwards over the front leg, feeling that stretch in the back pocket of the hip as you fold your body forwards. If you have nice mobile hips, you might not feel that stretch, but for those of us who have tight hips, we can often feel it in the back pocket, the back of the joint of that hip socket. And then we can turn to the side hip and just come towards that one for a bit of rotation. Come back to the front hip, folding forwards. Turn to the side hip for a bit of rotation and turning forwards, folding forwards. And seeing if you can get a little bit more rotation and folding forwards. And then we're going to switch legs. So one hip forwards. Now most people will have asymmetries in their pelvis. So for this side, I find it really hard to keep both sit bones on the floor. So this sit bone is off the floor, but I'm trying to keep the intention of them being down. And then you're going to lean forwards over this front knee, opening up that back of that hip on this front knee side. And you're just going to come in and out of that, just trying to fold the body forwards over the leg. And then you can add the rotation to the other side, and then folding forwards. And often when you do the combination, the rotation just releases you a little bit, so you might get a little bit more of a fold each time. So you're just exploring, noticing what shows up for you, being respectful if there's any discomfort and not over pushing, because your body needs to feel safe to let go. If you're feeling discomfort and there's some resistance to the movements, you want to build up and make your body feel safe so it can start to feel it can let go. And then the last things we're going to do, bring the legs forwards. We're going to have one leg crossed over the other straight leg. We're going to wrap the opposite arm. So I've got my left knee bent up. I'm wrapping my right elbow around that left knee, and then I'm going to turn to the left. And again, you might get some lateral hip stretch here. You might get some rib cage tightness. What I want you to do is keep your sit bones heavy into the floor. I want you to grow the crown of your head strong out of those sit bones. And I want you to breathe. 360-degree breath. Notice if your breath can move into your body easily, or with you in this rotated position, whether it feels stiff and tight. Because we want to try to find a space where we can breathe easily, even though we've wound our bodies up into some tightness. And then releasing this side, and we'll switch over. Pop the other knee across. So right knee's across, left knee's wrapping over that right knee. Now I'm turning to the right. And again, I've got some lateral hip and a little bit of glute tightness. I might feel this side, I don't feel the rib tightness, but I felt it a bit on the other side. I'm rooting my sit bones both into the floor. They're staying glued to the floor. I'm growing out of the crown of my head, tall out of those, from those sit bones all the way up through the spine. And I'm then trying to find a slow, steady, even breath. Doesn't have to be a big breath, just a slow, steady, even breath. And release. We'll come back through from a kneeling position, because it's a nice one to do. It's really nice to try and tuck all 10 toes under and see if you can sit back and allow those joints to be loaded in that full extended position. Some people really hate this because their toes are too tight. Ideally, you want to be able to build up. So if you have to be here to take some weight off, that's fine. But you're gradually hoping that you can tolerate sitting back with that toe extension and be relatively comfortable. If you do it often, I can be comfortable here. If I haven't done it for a while, it can feel tight and stiff. And just do a few slow, gentle, soft breaths, encouraging the body to let go if it's fighting or creating tension. And then you can place your hands on the floor and lift your knees up. And here, I want you to try and lengthen through your spine, open your chest so you're not collapsing forwards, and just allow your heel bones in this position with your knees together. They're unlikely to be on the floor, but you're trying to lower them towards the floor, letting go through your gastroc and your soleus muscles, the Achilles tendon. Imagine it lengthening and letting go. And again, this is just checking in that you've got your full knee flexion, you've got full ankle dorsiflexion, and you've got good hip flexion, because you require all of those things to be in this position. If any one of those things is difficult for you, whether it be knee flexion, hip flexion, or ankle dorsiflexion, this exercise will be difficult, but you will know which joint is limiting you because you'll feel it. It might feel really tight in the front of your ankles, it might just feel really tight around your knees, or you might feel the tightness in your hips. And if whichever one shows up for you, if any of them do, that's an area you need to work on your mobility. So then we're going to tip ourselves upside down, have your knees as bent as they need to be, head released. You're thinking of the sit bones travelling up, and you're just going to walk through alternate feet just to get some length in the back of each leg. So you bend one forwards while you straighten the other. It can be a bit less intense if you march them than when you push both straight together. And then both feet grounded, hands off the floor.
think of your sit bones, and on the next exhale, you're going to anchor your sit bones down. When pelvis is in neutral, lift through your pelvic floor, up through the center of your spine, all the way out of the crown of your head, coming back to standing. Take a moment to find yourself back in standing. Find your feet underneath your hip sockets, knee joints and ankles. Find those tripods on the soles of your feet connecting down into the ground. Find that pelvic floor and deep core and create a sense of lift up through the middle of your body, all the way up out through the crown of your head. And then just check in on how your body feels now compared to how it felt at the start of the class. And thank yourself for showing up and giving your body a chance to work through some things. And I hope that all felt okay for you. Any problems, always feel free to message me either through my Instagram or I don't know if you can message on YouTube, but I'm sure you can. So if anybody has any problems or questions or anything they'd like me to do a video on, do please feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to help you out. All right, take care. Bye-bye.